This is just showing the Ptolemaic Empire further in around 240 BC. If you remember your history, Ptolemy I was a general of Alexander the Great, and after Alexander's death in 323 BC, all of his generals took over lands that Alexander and they had conquered. And Ptolemy took over Egypt. Smart man, because he was the only one who survived, his line survived the longest, ending with Cleopatra. So pretty important guy who took over a really important area. And he did some pretty important things with coinage because, yes, there was some pharaohs that minted a couple of coins to pay for mercenaries, but coinage really was never brought to Egypt for commerce until the Ptolemies or the Greeks came. And so, Mike, if you want to go to the next slide. So before that, you had the Attic standard, which had to do with the Athens tetradrachms. Most of them were around 17 grams of silver. And then Alexander used this as well. And you can even see Ptolemy at the bottom. The bottom coin is Ptolemy I, and that's Alexander wearing the elephant headdress instead of the lion headdress. And this is still under the Attic weight. So when he first took over Egypt, but these were widely used in the Greek city-states, and a lot of the city-states adopted the 17-gram Attic standard. Then you had some changes. And if you want to go to the next slide, why did Egypt change? They went to the Ptolemaic standard, and it dropped to around 14, 15 grams, somewhere in that range. And they wanted, it was mostly to be used within their own monetary economy. They had less silver, so it reduced the silver that they needed, and they could control it a lot more. And it also prevented, because it was a closed system, for the coins leaving Egypt as well.
But the neighboring states, because they were of lower silver and lower purity, they wouldn't welcome them, so they would be much more likely to have to stay in Egypt.
Right. And if you look all the way up until the Romans, when they really started debasing, you could tell there wasn't a lot of silver there, because look at all the Roman Egypt silver tetradrachms. They're all Billon, which is basically debased silver. There's hardly any silver in them. There's a little bit, but they don't look like silver. They look like bronze coins. So Egypt in general didn't use a lot of silver later into the Roman period. And so they were already thinking about going to a lighter weight standard even during the time of Ptolemy, and it continued on after that. And so you can see that the style didn't change. You still have Alexander wearing the elephant headdress as you did on the Attic standard one. So just the weight changed, but the dye didn't change, and it was still the same style. So when you're looking at Ptolemy the First with him wearing the lion skin, you always realize that the Attic standard is going to cost you more, because it's a rare type that is more desirable, because it's the old standard. And there are more of the Ptolemaic weight standard than there are of the Attic standard. So just keep that in mind when looking at the weights, because people, in the auction houses, they don't always state it as Attic standard or Ptolemaic standard. They just put the weight in, and you see it immediately. As soon as you see that it's 17 grams, you're like, oh, that's Attic standard. So, you could probably tell from the style as well. In general, it's a little bit higher style. But that's basically it's the same type of coin, but just different weight standards. So just keep that in mind when you're looking at these things. So go to the last slide, and you can see there, then Ptolemy goes to his own portrait on the coin between 305 and 282, and you can see it's 14 grams. And then all the Ptolemies kept the same names, generally speaking. And so Ptolemy VI, one of the descendants of Ptolemy I, there you can see the weight's still at 14. Some of them get down to like 13 grams in that level, but it continues all the way through the Ptolemies. And so it's very cool. And they're not the only ones that did it. There's a rhodium standard. There's several out there. I just wanted to focus on the Attic to Ptolemaic standard. And there's more nuances than this, but this is just a brief little overview that I thought was interesting, because especially with the coin type with the elephant headdress changing just based on weight standard. So issued by the same guy, which is very cool.